All right, here we go. Welcome. Welcome to the Priests for an Apostolic Age Conference. We're so excited to have you. I'm looking forward to everyone who's out in the lobby joining us. We're excited to get started. We are going to do something that's very not my nature, which is start on time. Every session, we're going to start on time. So here we are. Oh, we got some claps, got some applause. Yes. Well, we have a lot to do over the next 3 days. We're so honored to have you. I know very well from talking to many of you what a sacrifice it was for you to be here. We've been covering you in prayer, praying that the Holy Spirit would protect you and protect the communities that you've left while you're gone. So I pray that these can be a few days of peace, of recollection, of renewing your encounter with the Lord, and also contemplating what it looks like for the church to move in an apostolic direction. My name is Jason Simon. I'm the president of the Evangelical Catholic. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I've been married for 25 years to the woman who brought me into the church. Yeah, she's awesome. So people ask me, how did you become Catholic? I said, it's really easy, a beautiful woman. And they're like, ah. And it's mostly true. I would attribute other things as well, Holy Spirit, but a beautiful woman definitely is a powerful attractant. So I came into the church in 1999. But before I was Catholic, I grew up in a beautiful Protestant home. My parents raised me to love Jesus. I had intimate experiences with Jesus as a child. I'd asked Jesus to help me find things, and Jesus would help me find things. And even during communion, though in my church it was only a symbol, we would reflect on the passion of Jesus while we received those symbols. And to me as a kid, just thinking about the cross, I would weep at how much he loved me. But as I got older, as I became a teenager, the church got boring. And I started looking for thrills. I was a little bit of an angsty kid. I'd drive my motorcycle really fast and seek danger in all kinds of different places. And eventually, I was kind of led down a path of darkness, immersed in some sin for 4 years. And when I had a conversion experience in early college, and the Lord challenged me to become a man like my father. And I made a resolution, I'm going to become a man like my father. But I was so stuck in darkness, I couldn't get out of it. One Sunday, I met this guy after church over donuts, and he talked to me about his career, and he asked me about my college experience, what I was majoring in. We had this brief conversation, maybe 10 minutes, and shortly after that conversation, I transferred schools. I left the city I was in, went to a different city, still struggling with darkness, still I wanted Jesus so bad, but I couldn't leave behind the old patterns of my life. And I was full of like, Lord, I want you. I just can't get rid of this stuff, just kind of like patterns of addiction. And I was out for a run that day, and there was a man sitting on a fence. I had passed him, and as I ran past him, he called out to me and said, Jason, Jason. And I turned around, and it was the man I had met 4 months earlier after church and had a 10-minute conversation with him over donuts. I have no idea how he remembered my name, but when I ran past, he did. He remembered me. He saw me. I looked familiar. I was in a different city. He saw me. I looked familiar. He remembered my name. He called out to me. This lay person who was in sales, sitting on a rock wall in the middle of our campus, recognized me, called out to me. I walked up to him and he engaged me in a half-hour conversation just about life, didn't talk about Jesus at all. But he must have sensed, even in that initial donut conversation, something was wrong, And I bet he started praying for me by name. I don't know how else he'd remember my name after 4 months. He started praying for me, called out to me, had this conversation. Now, most people, after that half-hour conversation, I said, I got to go, I got to study, I got work to do. I started walking away, and he said, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, I don't know. He said, I'll treat you to lunch. Want to meet for lunch? I said, yes. So I got together with him the next day for lunch. And the next day for lunch, he started asking me about my prayer life. He started asking me how my faith was. And I remember this question he said, how are you doing with the Lord? And tears welled up in my eyes. And I couldn't even answer. And finally, I spit out, it's not good, man. It's not good. And he said, I can help you. I'll teach you to pray. I'll teach you to get back into the scriptures. We'll start walking through what it means to follow Jesus. I'll walk with you. And I said, man, I'm in. And that guy met with me for 2 years. 2 years, buying me lunches, walking me into the light of Jesus. That lay person in the world, seeking after the lost, just like Jesus does, met with me for 2 years, invested his time and his money in me for 2 years, and changed my life. After I started walking with Jesus, I was a Protestant still. I remember I still felt heavy. I still felt this weight on me. And eventually, I was walking through the street at 3 a.m. and I said to the Lord, I need a new heart. My heart's still numb from those years of sin. I can tell it is. I know you've forgiven me. It's still numb though. And I didn't realize what I needed until maybe 2 years after that. That was 96. 2 years after that, 99, I became Catholic. In 98, I heard my first confession. And my first confession with that holy priest, he had me kneel down. He said, well, why don't you kneel for your confession? I kneeled down facing him. And he said, no, look over there. And there was this huge crucifix on the wall. And I kneeled facing that crucifix, just talking to Jesus, and I told him about everything. And there, with absolution, I felt my heart recreated. I was new. And my prayer was answered. I told Jesus I needed a new heart 2 years earlier. And finally, I knew I had been given a new heart. I knew confession was real. And the interplay between the apostolic activity of that man, his name was Chip, and the power of the church to bring about confession, that's why we're here. We have in the church the power of the Holy Spirit. We have in the church the lay people, between 60 and 70 million lay people, self-identifying Catholics in this country. And we have in this room and all over this country, in every community of this country, priests and parishes and structure and sacraments to change the world. And we all know it. We all know we have at our fingertips these gifts of the Holy Spirit to change the world, to indeed make disciples of every nation. But we need to come together and we need to figure out what the Holy Spirit wants to do with that in each of our communities. And that's what we want to do this week. We want to pray together. We're going to learn. We're going to be exhorted. And the Holy Spirit's gonna lead us all in an individual way, but in a united way for our communities to truly move from an old Christendom mindset that assumed people would come to us to a new apostolic mission where we send people into the darkness to reach the lost. That's where the Holy Spirit is moving, all of us as a church. And it's why we wanted to have this conference. I'm so excited to have all of you. Just meeting a few of you. We're united. We're united in our love for Jesus. We're united knowing that he saves us. We're united being convinced of the importance and the urgency of the Great Commission. We might be divided on a lot of things, but man, those are some big things to be united on. And we're united. And so we're going to start off here with a keynote address from my good friend Curtis Martin. I want to give a little bio of him before he gets up here. Curtis has an awesome story. If you get a chance to ask him about it, you can see his normal standard awesome bio on his website. But I just wanted to get you in touch a little bit with what drives Curtis and where he comes from. Curtis, like me, was deeply impacted by Campus Crusade for Christ. Now it's called Cru. When he was in college, he grew up Catholic, but Campus Crusade was the one who brought the gospel to him, who discipled him into discipleship. A lot like me. Curtis, unlike me, had come from a Catholic background, so after 3 years of being away from the sacraments, he came back and received the sacraments, and then where has this been? We need this. And then he started daydreaming about how to start an organization that would go to campuses that would reach students like him without ever having those students who grew up Catholic having to leave the Catholic Church to find the gospel. This is indeed what he's done to great effect in our country. I think we all know that. Curtis went to Franciscan University and got his master's in theology. After that, Archbishop Chaput compelled him against his will to take campus ministry at the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, I've been there. It's a middle of nowhere, flat farm field. It's not beautiful and majestic. But he went there and launched campus ministry there. And from there, the Holy Spirit, and you can hear the stories, the Holy Spirit started bringing him people to join this work of focus. From there, they started adding missionaries, adding staff, adding campuses, and it's just grown by the power of the Holy Spirit ever since then. If you're familiar with the work of focus, you know how beautiful it is. And we're so excited to have him here. Curtis is the most inspiring speaker I know on the Great Commission, and we're honored to have you come and give us this talk.